evening. Let's start the astrodoodle. So I'll be finishing off the astrodoodle here in a minute. Let's have a look. Alrighty, so let's leave that at that. And let's put this down. Greetings, good evening. Hello, Necessary Truth. It looks like it's just you and me here. I don't know where everyone else is. I didn't do any notifications, and my, what you call it, the bulk email constant comment thing is not very active at the moment, so maybe that explains it. Also, it could be anything else. Who knows what? Mercury is retrograde. Thank you very much. Venus is retrograde. But you made a point of interest there. You mentioned something about the 27th, so I had a quick look. And, well, ACAT, hello, in Florida, if I'm correct. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So, oh, you sent some notes. Oh, okay. Let me just go over here a second. Just give me a second. I'll be right back. Okay, nothing here to see that I can see at the moment. So I'll go over here. And I'm just clicking around, getting things set up. All right, so actually, that's not really, I don't know, let's just leave this as it is. You know, sometimes I really overdo it with the red ink. Florida is correct, see? Okay, so I love having these location things. I love maps. I wish I could get more maps. But there's ACAT over here in Florida. And Necessary Truth is up here around the Bronx area, okay? Well, you do have a point around the 27th, but more like the 28th. Do you see here? I'll just do you a real tight close-up if possible. The 27th, things might get a little bit choppy because Venus is slowing down to stationary direct, okay? So Venus has been cruising for weeks and weeks and weeks retrograde in Capricorn, okay? And still there, and then it slows down. It appears to slow down as it gets ready to move back direct in Capricorn. So like on the astrodoodle, this is just something around the 27th, but more like the 28th. So there's Venus. It is retrograde. Let me mark that. I should do that. Uranus just turned direct, by the way, but so I'm going to mark that with red because when it flips from retrograde to direct or direct to retrograde, then there's always a bit of turbulence, okay? So Venus is here in retrograde and Mercury is here in retrograde. Now, because they are the very personal planets, we could, we might feel this in day-to-day life as some kind of agitation or disruption of some kind. Somewhere, wherever that lies in your chart, we talk about these things now and again. I'll just put that over here. So, yeah. Right now, I've been pondering this chart for a while. Of course, everything changes really quickly, as you know. Last week the moon was over here somewhere. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, the moon I think was in Taurus. And now we have today the moon is in Libra. And then in about a day and a half, the moon's going to be in Scorpio. In about 2 days, the moon is going to be conjunct the south node over here. Okay? So my personal interpretation on the global scale is that this is going to be something to do with global finances, global markets, global banking, something like that, where we're going to start to see some, I would say, sometimes very scary, sometimes very beautiful stuff that's going to come to the surface that cannot be avoided. Essentially, if you see this axis here, you see this one here? This axis is the nodal axis, and it's going to be with us for at least a year. And during that time, there's going to be massive revolutions in the global banking system. The chances are you won't even see it happening because it's going to be a very, very secretive process. The reason it's secretive is because the global banking system is operated by a very elite group of private banks and owners. Of course, they don't want you to know that, but that's really what's going on. And they benefit by farming everybody on Earth. They farm people just like they farm, just like big food corporations farm, cattle, pigs, chickens, turkeys, fish, sheep, all the major animal protein sources, pork on a massive scale, astronomical scale. And that's what the global banking system has been teaching itself to do for the last 120 years, since 1913. But it wants to take it to a whole new level because they can. And the thing is that if they don't, they have some very real problems on their hands. Hello, Path. Good evening. Nice to see you. So, guess what's going to happen? All the planets that we see from Earth whiz around the solar system this way. They appear to whiz around the planet Earth in this direction. But the lunar node journey goes in the other direction. So we've just started, and it's at the 29th degree. This is the critical degree. So it could be a little bumpy, a little bit choppy. And some of you know that I'm very interested in global finances, because they do affect our personal finances. And again, that's whether we like it or not. And so what's starting to happen, and I want to say thank you here to Path Traveler and a few others who send me information. I do a lot of my own homework, but sometimes a few gems just show up here. Thank you, Path Traveler, for some of yours. But it makes it very, very clear that there is a very secret and private conversation going on with the global banking system, the big retail banks in America, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, U.S. Bank, PNC, and all of those, and then plus all the big Wall Street trading banks. All of them are in deep conversation with the United States Federal Reserve, as represented by the plutocracy over here, heavily embedded in trying to heavily manage and control and take over the world with global farming of human beings through the financial system. And it's going to happen. They are going to implement these systems. And you'll start hearing words more and more like CBDC, central bank digital currency. It's already happening in China. This is where your money goes straight into and out of the United States Federal Reserve. That is terrifying. And they can program it and manage it in any way they want. They can punish you if they don't like you. They can close down your bank account. They can restrict your activities in life and world about how and where you spend your time and money. It's an absolutely terrifying phenomenon. It's already happening in China. And the United States system is basically trying to copycat that whole program for the whole of America, which means basically for the whole of the world. Because where America goes, the rest of the world has to go regarding global finance. Anyway, it's a very, very disturbing thing. But there is, luckily in nature, there are countermeasures. And I'm interested in those. It's mostly to do with the world of what we call cryptocurrencies now. And in particular, I'm still very new at this, so I can't really say too much with much authority. But the idea is that there are people, good, honest, loving, caring people out there who are very concerned about the global financial system, and they are building an alternative parallel world which will allow those of us who wish to do so to gently remove ourselves from the global banking system as we know it. In other words, your bank account, your Visa cards, your debit cards, and all of that stuff across the world. and then move into another parallel world where instead of having yourself farmed by these banks, you actually start to create your own wealth through farming and nurturing and blossoming and fostering your own wealth, just like running a very fertile garden. So eventually I hope to be able to talk about that with more authority down the road. In the meantime, things are the way they are. Some of you may have noticed that on a global scale, where's my maps? Oh, here they are. In the United States, here in the United States, there's been a lot of, let's say, coming unglued vibes, where Mars is very active here in Sagittarius at the 28th, 29th degree. So there's a fierce battle going on to try and expose as much truth and justice about what's happening across the world. And most of the truth and justice is exposing all the evils of the global financial system as we know it, and the global political systems as we know it. There is so much fraud and corruption, and it's been going on and so effectively for so many years that we, the people, are, for the most part, are unaware. Of course, there are pockets of people with whom I tend to resonate a little bit more that way. There are people who are very aware of I would call it demonic agenda that's happening, and they're trying to counter that energy. But it's very hard because in the United States, we've got 330 million people who have been born and raised and programmed in this deeply fraudulent financial system. And we don't know anything else. And we have essentially been farmed since the day we were born. But it's becoming much more like intensive factory farming now. And enough people are realizing this is not acceptable. And so guess what's happening? Just like what happens in nature, people evolve. And that's what's happening in the world of cryptocurrencies. Human beings are evolving to create a parallel world of finance, which is exactly the opposite of the existing status quo. I am doing everything I can to migrate my personal life into this new alternative parallel world. And do it in such a way that I am as invisible to the status quo as they are secretive towards me. In other words, you want to play that game? Watch this. I can play that game too. But we're going to switch it around. Anyway, so that's kind of what's going on. But the subject matter of global finances is going to become much more of a front page issue for the everyday person. It isn't just going to be for people who are in Wall Street or you're into banking or you're an investor. It's going to be for everybody. And that pivot is going to happen like this over the next year. And probably, over the next year or so. Let me do this closer because I can tell you, you know what, I should have done that. I'll do this another time. Next week I'll do something, but here's the axis I want you to think about over here, okay? All right, we're just starting now, and I can see it in the financial reports and the global financial landscape in the news that the storylines I'm talking about are becoming impossible to hide. The fraud and the corruption, the deception, the betrayal, the theft, the manipulation, it's all now fully exposed. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? What are we, the people, going to do about it? Now, there's going to reach a point of massive critical mass, and we're not there yet, okay? And it's going to happen most powerfully when the North Node conjoins Uranus in Taurus, okay? Now, I'm just trying to make it look like it's happening right now. This is Uranus in Taurus. This is the second house of finance, money, value, values, and so on. And there's going to come a point, because Uranus is on its 7-year journey through Taurus, okay? It started a few years ago. We're heading towards halfway. We've probably got another 4 years to go. But there's going to come a point in 2022 and 2023 where Uranus is going this way while the North Node is going that way. And they are going to conjoin. And in my astrodoodles, many months from now, it will conjoin and it will look like this. This black arrow will be sticking out of Uranus's derriere. And when that happens, it's going to be a very powerful calendar moment in global finances. You have to expect a tremendous amount of chaos, upheaval, rebellion, shock, anger, and protesting. At the same time, the parallel world that I was talking about is going to become much stronger and stronger and stronger. Eventually, anyone who wants to will be able to migrate towards a parallel world. But the more that the parallel world grows stronger and stronger, the more and more pressure that the status quo is placing on the parallel world to try and crush that energy. Of course, it's never going to happen. The more they try to crush that energy, the more the parallel world will manifest. Okay? I'm talking about this quite loosely in kind of astrological, spiritual terms. Lorraine in Ohio. You must be covered in snow. So there's that little thing we just talked about. Next thing right now, again, we've got this big fat T-square here, and that's going to change in a few days. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but we still have this, okay? Saturn is in Aquarius, and the Sun is in Aquarius, and Mercury is retrograde in Aquarius. That's essentially like a big cluster. You know, I should just put the whole thing like this, like so, you know? That's like a big cluster. You know, all of it, all of that energy here is in a hard square with Uranus in Taurus. So what that indicates to me is that it's like what I was just talking about. The subject matter of your sovereign self, as represented by the Sun in the 11th house of community and humanity. Can you imagine a world where each of us has far greater control and dominion over our finances, and where we are not being strip mined, we are not being factory farmed for the benefit of the status quo. We actually get to work and earn and grow and prosper. And what's happening here is the Sun and Saturn and Mercury are saying enough is enough. Saturn is basically screaming out, and it's in a hard square with Uranus and Taurus. So it's creating a tremendous stress and friction in the global banking system. And the main core message is that we, the people, are the cure. I wrote that down months ago, and that came from Love Triber. And it's very true. We, the people, are the cure for this debauchery and this squalid, cancerous factory farming of humanity for the benefit of a handful of globalists. So, our community, of the family of mankind, the family of humankind, is under a lot of spotlight right now. The Sun is in Aquarius, Saturn's in Aquarius, Mercury's in Aquarius. And you could see it. I don't know if any of you guys noticed, but in the last few days, as Mercury flipped and it's going retrograde, there's been tremendous shock and upheaval in the financial markets, okay? And it's very disturbing for a lot of people. Saturn is already, see that Mercury there, the planet of everyday commerce, hard square with Uranus in Taurus, okay? Oh man, I see that, Lorraine. And 7 degrees. Oh my gosh. You remember when Precious Moments was here last week or the week before? I think she had frozen pipes. She was up in Alberta, Canada, and they had like what was it, 17 degrees below 0 centigrade, so that's like negative 20 or something. It's terrifying. Lorraine, I hope you, I mean, Youngstown, Ohio, you get cold winters, all right? So I hope you're prepared. You got some nice woolly socks and gloves and hats, and you've got a certain section of the house where you can get nice and cozy, warm, and extra blankets and all of that. And of course, check the battery on your car. Make sure it's in really good condition. Make sure the terminals are very clean, okay? And in the morning when you if you have to drive somewhere, be very, very careful. Obviously, black ice. Lorraine, you're used to it, okay? I lived in Ohio. I know what it's like. I need a sip of water. Hold on. Oh, look who it is, Sarah. Sarah's over there in Libya. Okay, so just a little roundup. Path Traveler is over here in Kentucky. ECAT is over here in Florida. Necessary Truth is up there in the Bronx, New York area. Lorraine is over here in Ohio. And guess who's over here in Libya? Right over there in little Benghazi, okay? I don't know if you can see it. Right there. That's Sarah Al-Shaikhi. Yay. Lorraine had to buy a new battery. Yeah, it happens. Let me just check in with everybody. Hold on. I gotta do some. I gotta check the all systems are running up here too, because sometimes when I do these shows, I have to stay very far away from planet Earth in case I get projectiles shot at me from people who try to shut me down. And also it gives me a better perspective of Earth. Hold on, let's have a look over here. So, let's have a look. Oh yeah, here we are. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's just a handful of us. Hi, Sarah. I see you're over there in Benghazi. Lorraine in Ohio. Path in Kentucky. Necessary up in the Bronx. Hold on. Stay there. All right. Now, I was just going to mention something about... Oh, we might get some Kiwis or some Aussies tonight. Who knows? Sometimes we get Queen of Water over in Melbourne, Australia, and sometimes we get Karen Clark over there in sunny, warm New Zealand. I miss you guys. I wish... Anyway, I've been going through some really trippy stuff here about myself and the channel because I happen to be heavily affected by the transits that are going on right now. The Capricorn transits for years, this huge pile that's happening now in Aquarius, and the Piscean energy. It's all over me in so many ways. So I'm going through all these radical, deep, profound shifts and changes. And it's going to be a very slow process. And what I'm trying to do essentially is hang on until I can figure out what the new life, the new world is going to be. Because I feel quite a lot of changes coming up, but it's going to be a very slow process. And I'm one of the channels, like a lot of the channels that I enjoy on YouTube. By the way, I think YouTube is amazing. I have learned so much from YouTube. I just wish that my channel had not been crushed by the algorithm. But I keep going. But there's also a lot of channels that I watch that have been crushed as well because of their political, spiritual, financial views about the world that clash with the, the technocrats, the oligarchs, the plutocrats who own and operate everything across planet Earth, especially global media, okay? So there's a bit of a clash there, but the channel is still alive, and I intend to keep the channel going some way, somehow, but it is going to morph into something new and different. Kia ora, there she is. Just had to mention the name, and then she shows up. Hello, Karen. Greetings. Karen, so I have some friends right now over in New Zealand, and they just built a beautiful deck out in their backyard to go with their huge above ground swimming pool. So they're enjoying that. I also have some dear friends who are taking a week off up at the beaches at Matarangi. I hope I said that properly. So there you go. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I was going to mention something that. Oh yeah, batteries. Yeah, car batteries. I've lived in a lot of different countries, a lot of different cities and climates, and I'm in Las Vegas now, and it gets very, very hot in the summer. I've had 3 heat strokes already. I've been living here about a year and a half now, and I've lived in places that are much colder and all sorts. But I can remember having to do a lot of work on cars over the years to get through some very severe winters, extreme severe conditions. And so Lorraine's thing with the battery is, again, nothing unusual. But for future reference, a lot of you might not like to do DIY stuff, do-it-yourself things on cars because it can be messy. And it can save you a lot of money with things like batteries. But car batteries in general, they last about 7 years, no matter how much maintenance you give them, if you're driving average mileages on an average vehicle. But you can extend that life for a couple of years if you take the terminals, all right? You remember, like, your battery has 2 terminals. And if you look at them, for many people, those terminals are covered in like plastic caps, and you lift those caps up and everything's covered in kind of goop and white powder and disgusting, horrible stuff. But what you can do with some fairly basic hand tools is unclip the big wires that connect to the battery, and you take this battery terminal cleanup tool. It looks very, very simple. It kind of looks like, what does it look like? Anyway, it's about, your average battery terminal cleanup tool is about this big. It's about the size of your average business card, but it is circular, and it's made out of metal, and you pull it apart, and it has these serrated teeth inside, and you shove them down onto the battery terminal, and you crank it, and all this junk comes off, and you can blow it away and clean it off, and you get a brand new shiny terminal. Okay? Then, in the same tool, the part that you pulled apart, it has another very harsh wire brush kind of structure that's circular, and you shove that inside the battery cable connector. The battery cable connector kind of looks like that, and that drops on top of the terminal. So what you do, you clean the terminal, and then you clean the connector. So inside of the connector, everything's shiny new metal. So what you do then is you can reconnect the terminals, and everything has maximum connectivity, so the maximum amount of electricity can flow. And what I do, and it's helped a lot, is you take thick globs of Vaseline and you smother it all over the terminals. And what happens then, it makes it almost impossible for the terminals to oxidize over the years. So you get a better battery for more years, and it can save you a pile of money. Tina, greetings. You know what? Cheers. Cheers, everybody. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a sort of like a... I want to go over here a second. Right now we don't have any bookings for any readings at all, so I'm just going to have a chat and hang out with you guys. I want to share something though. Give me a moment here. I was thinking about this the other day. I really I'm a little bit scared to talk about what's happening inside of me and how and why, because it's still very diffuse. But I know I can feel big changes coming along over the next 2 years, 2.5 years. So what I do personally, my most valuable source of information is, believe it or not, YouTube. Okay? I probably watch an hour a day, 5 or 6 days a week, and I gain enough knowledge from there to have completely rebuilt my life, and I will continue to do so. That's delicious, by the way. This is my Trader Joe whiskey. Thank you very much. I got a little bit caught out recently, so I ended up having to get Costco whiskey, which was pretty good, but very smoky. Oh, you sent a donation? Oh, okay. I'll check that out. Give me a second, Tina. I started on a rant. Okie dokie. And then, you know how I like to make lists, okay? But I don't know if I did this before, but I wanted to share the names of the channels that I have been learning the most from. Okay, I ended that sentence with an adverb, but I don't care. I'm learning a lot from these channels. Okay. How am I going to do this? Some of the things that I'm learning from are not channels. They're actually websites, which are mostly to do with finance and personal finance, and so on and so on. Now, I know that Path Traveler is very good, very much like a sleuth with digging up and finding really important information and news that affect all of us on a global scale, as well as down to the individuals. Okay, there is a global publication called the Epoch Times. I'm basically doing this to share with everybody where I get my stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I don't need, that I'm not interested in, that comes from what we call the mainstream media, MSM. Some of it's very valuable and very useful if you're interested in sports, weather, the status quo of global finance, so you can watch CNBC and the equivalents, you know. Okay, so I like to watch the Epoch Times because they have a vast treasure trove of reporters all across the world who report from truth and honesty, and I would say the highest levels of authenticity, pretty much from all global news sources. And I'm talking about the major global news sources that everyone knows and trusts, okay? The big ones: Reuters. Okay, I'm going to show this. Associated Press. Okay. And then you get down to the BBC. These are all global news sources. BBC. I'll just put them here so you can see them, because I don't want to put them on this form. Reuters, Associated Press, and the BBC. And there's other places. Otherwise, you're left with the mainstream media, MSM, okay? And in the United States, that's ABC, CBS, NBC. Actually, there's NPR. That can be very handy. Okay. So I'm making a distinction. All of these are mainstream media, which I can access if I want to, but I typically don't bother. Okay? The mainstream media is ABC, CBS, NBC, and all their affiliates, like CNBC, MSNBC, all of those. And of course, we also have our big famous ones. You know all of these very well. Okay. See, all of these folks over here, which are essentially mainstream. This is the mainstream media, and all of this is heavily controlled and filtered according to the agenda. Okay, there's an agenda out there from these folks. I'll make a little note here. I'm doing this on a separate chart because I'm going to throw these away. Okay, I see your notes there. Karen, you're going to get a reading. Yeah, CNN. Absolutely. CNN. I got it, Sarah. Thank you very much. CNN. And there's lots more stuff, but yeah. World. And also, I mean, there's a lot more. The big one is the World Economic Forum, which is those folks with Klaus, who's created this globalization, and it's kind of a monstrous agenda to take over the whole world in a massive totalitarian death grip. And it works very closely with the World Health Organization, which works very closely with the United Nations and so on. And they're all basically trying to create a new world order, which is based on a global command and control totalitarian system, which is basically demonic as far as I'm concerned. It means you have no rights, no privacy, you will be farmed, and so on and so on. I don't want to get into those wars too much. I'm trying to be positive here. I love the Epoch Times. I grab snippets here and there. Here's the other ones that I've learned mostly through Love Triber and Path Traveler. I like Pinball Prepper. Oh, Preparedness. Yep. I like Yanasa. I'll come back to these. I'm just trying to remember the names, and I'll come back and explain them a little bit better. Joshua. NTD China. I'm sure I'll remember some more. Oh yeah, here's the other one. Some of you may know these already, but there's lots of variations on some of these, but these are the ones that I've liked the best. I'm just sharing it because I've learned so much. Oh, there's more, but let's leave it like this for now. Yeah, Karen. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that before I get too carried away here. So, Tina has got a reading. Thank you, Tina. Yay. Tina Miller just booked a reading. I'll put these over here in case I come back to them. So let's put this over here. And Karen wants a reading. Karen Clark over there in New Zealand. Thank you both very, very much. You've got it, Karen. No worries. Okay, so these are the ones. I'm just giving you this list. I'm sharing it. And all these channels are active on YouTube. Most of them are at risk of being shut down because they are very much affiliated with truth, honesty, justice, and the good things in life, and the whole idea of humanity and human beings having a right to their sovereign existence, as opposed to everything that is communicated through these folks here, because these folks here are purely interested in serving themselves. Okay, they suffer from extreme lust, and they can't help themselves. All they want is more power, more control, and more money. Okay, and they work as a massive cartel. They all work together. Okay. A lot of the modeling that's happening here with the totalitarianism is based on the China model over at the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. But China does its own thing, but the globalists are trying to replicate the same thing without making it appear so evil. All right, so we got 2 readings booked. Thank you very much. And last one for the list, the Tarot Lumination channel. Oh, thank you. Yay. Woo-hoo. Wow. About 7 years ago, when I started noticing YouTube, I used to like to watch Lada Duncheva for astrology and Kelly Rossano for astrology. And there's a few others, but those were my go-tos. And I ended up thinking, wow, I should be doing this. And so I started my channel. But it was a similar thing with tarot. But thank you, Necessary Truth. I do love what I do and how I do it, but I find it extremely hard to do it effectively in a way that reaches people on a large scale. And that's because of blah, 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 that I'm not going to talk about. Anyway, I want to go through these very briefly with you. If I can remember others that are highly significant, I will mention them, but I can't remember just now. Anyway, the Epoch Times, yeah, it is on a website. But they sometimes in some countries they actually print a printed copy. But mostly it is a global news source. Pinball Preparedness. Okay. He's a gentleman, ex-military. He's probably in his 60s or something, maybe 50s or maybe 70s or something. And he's been around the block. And he tries to help people understand what's really going on in global politics, especially for America and Americans. But he covers everything. And his perspective is to help the little people who are highly vulnerable to these folks, okay? Okay, let's just do it this way. Let's make it really blunt, really simple. These folks would represent the status quo. I call them the elites or the cabal or something. And in really simplistic terms, I would call these folks the enemy. Okay? And there's all these folks here. These are we the people. I'm in this crowd here. I'm not a member of this crowd. I am a member of this crowd. I do not want to have anything to do with these people, but have you heard that expression, know thy enemy? Okay? It's very, very important to know your enemy. Okay? So I pay pretty close attention to these folks and these folks indirectly, just to make sure that I know what they're up to. So I don't accidentally step in a landmine or walk into a pile of poop. Lorraine wants a mini reading. Hold on, I didn't see that. Yeah, we can do one. You got it. It might be just one of those very cozy, quiet, slow nights, and we'll just do 3 readings and leave it at that. Okay, Pinball Preparedness is wonderful because he basically soaks in all the news from places like Epoch Times and here, and from here, and from here, and then condenses it all into like warnings. Like, hey, you need to understand what's happening in Alaska or in Los Angeles or in China or the Philippines or in Japan or Australia. You need to understand what this really means and how this storyline is relevant to you, the person. In other words, we the people. Yanasa Ama and his ranch and TV show, he is a very, let's say, media conscious farmer over in South Carolina. And he's very much concerned about like the earthy things over here, issues about Earth, Uranus and Taurus and all the crazy stuff that's going on, and how all these folks here are trying to crush the opportunities for the small and family private farmer to have a healthy existence, because these people are trying to destroy the infrastructure of healthy American farming and turn it into a globalized factory farming system for their benefit. Nothing to do with you. He is a fighter. Joshua Phillip is actually a lead reporter for the Epoch Times, and he focuses on some of the really big global issues and how they ramify all across the world, especially for Americans. But his focus is primarily on politics, like these folks here, and Washington, and all the corruption going on in the American political system. NTD is a global news source. They broadcast every day, kind of like mainstream media news. And they broadcast with an American-focused storyline, but they cover everything in the world as much as they can. NTD China focuses specifically on China. And it's very, very important as far as I'm concerned, because China, what's happening in China affects the rest of the world. So I pay very close attention to this, NTD China, and the more you watch this, the more you realize it's absolutely terrifying what is happening in China. A lot of the Chinese people are unaware, and a lot of the Chinese people have no choices, so it's terrifying. Adapt 2030 is in the same vein as Yanasa Ama. Adapt 2030, he's in Tennessee, I believe, and he is an active farmer who's interested in helping the rights for farmers to farm, the rights to be a farmer, and how to prepare for the worst about what's happening in the global financial systems, and especially how that affects farms and farmers and your food. So Ice Age Farmer, Adapt 2030 and Yanasa Ama and Pinball Pepper, they're very concerned about the Uranus and Taurus energies, about the physical realities of food and finance, and how it affects a lot of people, millions of people, but also the individuals. Ice Age Farmer is a very radical, active farmer who's very deep into the knowledge of what is going on over here in terms of globalization of agriculture in a way that is trying to destroy traditional food. Mark Moss is all about the money, honey. And he's kind of a cryptocurrencies, real estate, gold, and Bitcoin kind of guy. George Gammon is very knowledgeable on the banking system. He knows everything about what is evil inside these guys here. So he has a baseball hat that says, "End the Fed." Okay? So these guys are very much about finances. Prepper. News. And from there, I distill everything down and I turn it into a story that I can sleep with at night. There you go. Yes, Lorraine, I see your note there. Kelly Rosano is awesome. Kelly Rosano, along with Lada Duncheva, are some of the original founders of astrology on YouTube. They started, what was it, like in 2009 or something? 2008, 2009? Maybe even earlier. Yeah, something like that. And they have huge audiences, and they do like what I would call the kind of astrology channels that you would expect. They have, every month they put out 12 reports for the 12 signs, and then you can watch them all for sun, moon, and rising. And then they have like little weekend supplements and things like that, and alternative stories and going on and everything like that, which is very much how I had my channel formatted in the early years. But I can't do it anymore. There's no point in me trying to do it anymore, so I don't. I can't, the channel, it's impossible to monetize the channel for that to happen. It's very sad for me, but that's how it is. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you. These are all the names of YouTube channels that are very high on my priority list. These are the good guys. These are the bad guys. The bad guys, of course, you have to remember that they're very wealthy and they're very powerful. And from their own perspective, they are the good guys. And they try to present themselves in a very digestible, presentable, believable manner. But you have to understand the shadow side of what's going on here. If you do not understand that, please get in touch with me over here and we can set up maybe a private meeting or something, and I'll do what I can to help you. Okay. I'm going to put this aside for a moment. And I've got to put this one aside for the moment. Actually, let's put it all aside. I need some more clipboards. I'm running out of clipboards. I need more clipboards. Ah! Okay, let's get back because we're going to start work in a moment. Here we go. Cheers. Delicious. Oh, Gregory's here. Good evening, Mr. Ross. Hi. So we got the usual suspects. Awesome, man. More power to you guys. I hope we can all find a way to keep together for years to come. Because I'm not going away. I don't really have anything else to do. The question is, I'm at the very, very bottom of a death cycle. And I can tell that I am going to kind of reemerge very, very slowly. You know, it's like what happens in forests. You know, trees grow. They shed leaves. The leaves turn into fertilizer. The tree dies. The tree turns into fertilizer. And new shoots come up. It's the Pluto cycle. Birth, procreation, death. Birth, procreation, death. Over and over and over again. So there we go. I love you too, Lorraine. I wish I could go visit Ohio just like that. I mean, I could really, I could reset everything, all the calibrations over here. But right now, I am in a fixed orbit, okay? So everything in Earth is stationary when I look out the windows. Every now and again, of course, I have to come back and dock and refuel, load up with, Twix and Kit Kat and beer and wine and whiskey. Okay. What is that? There's some kind of squiggly new person in the chat and I can't understand it. Sorry about that. Actually, that's been happening for the last 3 weeks. I don't know what it is. There we go. All right. What did I forget? Did I forget something? I don't. No, I think over here. All right. So while we're settling in here to get the readings done, I have to go and check in with my email and find out what's going on. Okay. Okay. Super. Thank you, Tina. Yo. And then let's have a look. And that's and Karen, thank you very much. Yeah. And Lorraine, we can sort you out too. Okay, we'll work it out. You can do super chat if you want, but anyway. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Sarah, we have a booking later this week, so we'll get on with that. In the meantime, let me get back to everybody so we get on with things. Cheers. All right, let's have a look. Oh, no, yeah, let's do that. And let's see, this is probably all we're going to do tonight. All right, I'm just going to shuffle it up. Cards are already well shuffled in advance, but I like to go to the last second so that you're all a witness. Okay? So Tina, I didn't see any notes. Let me, actually, maybe I should just go back and check if there's some notes. Give me a second, Tina. I just want to double check things here. Sometimes people put notes in there when they do their... Okay, so there's no note. Okay, I'll leave it open. While I'm shuffling, Tina, if you've got any particular issues and you want to condense it into one word, fine, let's do that. Just type it into the screen. Otherwise, I'll give you a blind reading. Now remember, for people who are watching this, perhaps if you've not typed in, you've never done it before, there's only about 8 or 10 people here tonight right now. Sometimes, a lot of us are just, we've done this many times, but some people just observe quietly. And you get to this point where, like, what the hell is going on here? Oh, Sarah just showed up. Hi, Sarah. And let's have a look. Oh, I gotta go back over here. Give me a second. I just lost my mojo for a moment there. Alright, yeah. Sorry, my brain went off on a tangent. Oh yeah, what I was going to say, I've got a couple more comments to make about the Astro Doodle, but I think I'll rather just come back to that after we finish the readings, okay? Alright, let's have a look. No general. Okay, health. Good. Excellent choice. Okay, so like I said, cards are already well shuffled, but I like to go to the last second so that you guys are witnesses. Tina's interested in some notes about health. So what kind of messages do we have here tonight for Tina regarding health? Let's bless the deck, the whole deck, bless every single card, bless the whole channel, bless the platform that we can do this at all, bless all the multi-layered softwares that I use to run this thing, and the cameras and the microphones and the lighting and the electricity and the internet, and again, the platforms. Even though I have some serious gripes against the main hosting platform, excuse me. I'm still very grateful that I can do this at all. It's so strange how tarot works. All right, Tina, you're up. Next will be Karen, and then we do work with Lorraine. What? It's your own fault. A 1,500-mile trip, 3 weeks after the knee replacement. Ow. Yeah. Actually, Tina, that's kind of interesting because I had my major back surgery like 27 years ago, and they pulled out a whole bunch of, broken vertebrae and broken discs and everything. And I recovered, and no one would know I have, spinal surgery and stuff like that. But, things, I would say I had like a 95, 97% recovery, but I still have residual issues from many years ago. And someone like yourself, Tina, you're basically very dynamic, and you just get on with life and you go for it. You really seize it and eat it up, but still the body is talking to you. If you did 1,500 miles and after a knee replacement, my brother, by the way, Tina, my dear brother, he's not actually scheduled yet, but he knows he's going to have to do a knee replacement. By the way, Love Triber is doing remarkably well with her recovery after major spinal surgery with hardware. It's remarkable, really. It's like having a new life. But yeah, you get to a point where if you're lucky enough to be born with all your physical faculties working and fully functional, and then, as time goes on, just like a car, we start to fall apart and break, and we need maintenance. You need more and more healthcare attention as you get older. And I'm one of those people. I have a lot of healthcare issues. And your leg is swollen. Ow! I was going to ask, is it the right knee or the left knee? Because obviously if you're using the right knee to run the throttle and the brake, what can happen is just all these minuscule movements in the legs can actually put a tremendous amount of pressure on the joints and the tendons and the nerves and the lymphatic system. If it's the left leg and the left knee, then just sitting for 1,500 miles can put it's unnatural, okay? It's basically unnatural, and that can trigger problems, like you've got the leg being swollen. All right, let's have a look. Let's keep it very wide open in general. You're mentioning something about the knee, but let's keep it full spectrum, okay? Full spectrum health. All right, here we go. Let's have a look at this. Again, we've done our blessing and our thanks. Thank you very much. I'm going to use the good old Lumination situational spread. It's my diagnostic tool of choice. Here we go. Seriously? You're surrounded four sides by mountains? Okay, well actually it's sort of like that here in Las Vegas. But, we're talking, because Las Vegas exists in a huge basin. Okay? Over here, Las Vegas actually exists in a huge basin. And it's like 40 miles across. And that basin is surrounded by mountains to some degree. But I imagine your situation, where you're somewhere up in here, I think you said Helena. So, in your situation, I would imagine the mountains are much bigger and much closer. All right. I'm gonna redo this because I got distracted and I saw a card that made me feel like, oh, I need to keep going. All right, so let's just trust in the process, okay, Tina? So it is your right knee. Okay, yeah. That would probably be under more stress than the left knee anyway, simply because of American type of driving. One of my biggest problems is getting in and out of cars. I have to be extremely careful how I get in and out of cars because everything that you do to get in and out of a car pivots around your lower spine. And that's where I had all my surgery. All right, here we go. We're ready. All right, Tina? Yay. I hope Ava's okay. She's still a little girl, but how's she doing? I know you told us all that she's very strong and willful, so she probably is a bit of a handful, but still sounds like a beautiful thing. Okay, here we go. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. And let's ask for extra blessings with Mercury retrograde, with regarding communications. So I can have the highest chance of operating as an effective instrument, like a transceiver. You know how I talk about being a transceiver? You receive information and then you transmit information. And in between, I myself personally, I am a neutral entity. I'm literally just the instrument. This is the receiver, this is the transmitter. The receiver picks up the energy that we need in terms of storylines and images through the tarot, and then the transmitter is my voice through YouTube. There you go. Let's have a look. 5 of Swords. Wow. Huh. You know what? Okay, Tina, I'm going to tell you. You're asking, what did I see? Well, guess what? I'm not a magician, okay, Tina? I don't do magic card tricks, but this is the card that I saw. And it told me that, man, you need to keep going. Reshuffle. Hell on wheels, you got a huge transition. Go, Tina. Thank you, necessary. So, with the 5 of Swords, to me it feels like a little bit of a warning sign, like don't press too hard. Don't push yourself too hard to try and adapt and modify and go through these huge life-changing transformation just because you can. Tina, in general, most of us would probably agree here that you're highly capable, highly motivated, a little bit of a compassion junkie by nature. You can't help it. You were a professional, compassionate for many years in healthcare. I think it was in triage and emergency ICUs and things like that. So it's like you can't help yourself. But it does come with a price. You've put yourself... Well, you've done very well in life. You've been able to move around, and now you are completely rehabilitating, starting a brand new life. And it's a huge transition, like you say. It's just that, to me, it almost feels like you're trying to prove a point to yourself, and you really don't have to. And to me, it feels like it's happening at a very, very deep subconscious level, almost like Black Moon Lilith, where it's such a deeply buried issue that is actually not very helpful or functional for yourself, but it's almost operating there as a kind of a compulsion. It's almost like a shadow side of your nature. And Black Moon Lilith is right now in the sign of Gemini, and that affects everybody in terms of communications and how they perceive and interpret information and how they transmit information, including myself. And I'm doing the best I can, but sometimes it gets really, really hard to what I would call manage the information flow, the flow of information. So what I'm sensing here with the 5 of Swords for you, Tina, is that it's not, I don't feel like it's you are being oppressed by any kind of external energy. I feel that this is very personal and internal. It's almost like to me it feels like there's 2 sides of you. There's this character essence over here carrying very confidently and assuredly these 3 swords. And there's the other side of you, that were carrying two swords, each one here, these two characters, each with their own sword, and there was a lot of conflict, like, especially like I would say mental and communicational kind of conflict, okay? And you get in a situation where, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And in a state of conflict, it's impossible to be happy. On the other hand, in a state of conflict, there's a tremendous desire for resolution. Okay? Now, I'm kind of over-interpreting the card here a bit because you just typed something in. The moving company screwed you over and they left before putting your furniture back together. There you go. All right. That could easily trigger outrage, and it would be a very natural experience to want to go and contest the moving company and set things right. So there's a part of you, which to me feels like there's this part of you which feels I am very determined to set things right, and they're going to wish they never screwed me over. But my also feeling is here that with the Two of Swords walking away in kind of like a hollow, empty defeat, it might feel really awful, like the process of defeat. Like, okay, like what's the point in fighting this? And then you end up in a struggle with yourself. There's a part of you which wants to stand up for you, and there's the other part of you which has this like sinking feeling of failure, like what's the point in trying to rectify things, because all it's going to do is trigger anxiety, conflict, warfare in such a way that is it actually really worth it? In other words, is it worth trying to go to war to try and get some members of the moving company to come back to the house and put everything together while you watch over them with a hawk eye? And then, I mean, okay, maybe that's possible. Maybe you can shortchange them on the bill or whatever. I don't know, but to me this feels like we're dealing with irreconcilable conflict, and that's external to you. You don't have to be a victim. It's much more about accepting and understanding things as they are. Now, you just brought out this one particular thing with the moving company, but we're trying to go bigger and broader, okay? When I first saw this, my very first instinct was like, it is not about external influences, okay? It's much more to do with dealing about like some of the really like tedious, painful processes and reality checks of life where there are battles that are literally just not worth fighting. Yeah, you might have been dishonored and disrespected and screwed over, but in so many ways you still are so far ahead of some people in terms of good fortune and all of those things. Yes, your knee might be in pain and suffering and it's swollen, and there's a lot of things that we could all complain about. But what I'm sensing here with the Five of Swords is that it would be very easy to fall out of the vortex of the attitude of gratitude and then start like converging on yourself like this vicious kind of like anger at the self, anger at the world, anger at the moving company, and then the desire to make things right and to have justifiable anger. But what that looks like here to me is futility. So there's no point. In other words, I don't like to say it, but it's basically like the message is suck it up and deal with it, because it's not going to help trying to fix it in ways that are just and honest and true. Okay. Like you said, okay, you just sent some notes. It says you've already kind of gone head to head with them. You resolved nothing. You're going to have to put the legs back together on your own heavy furniture, which means probably having to kneel on the ground with your bad knee, the one that's swollen where you just had surgery. Okay, So obviously this is all about health. Let's have a look right now. Okay, so we got the Hermit card. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to put a lighthearted twist on this. It's just like, is anybody aware? Does anybody understand what I'm dealing with, what I have to go through? Yes, you are essentially in a solitary journey here, and you end up in a situation where, wow, I really am having to be my own guiding light. There's nowhere to turn, there's nowhere to talk to. But hey, you've still got us, okay? So if your situation makes you feel like, wow, here I am in a whole brand new location, a whole new wilderness, a completely new life, a new world, it's just me. It's just me. Wow. Yep. I don't think that's the end of the story. I think I think in the broader picture, we're talking about growing pains. You've just taken a huge leap, okay? You've landed in a completely new world, new place, and you're starting from scratch again. And it's like having to deal with like tedious little things that always happen in day-to-day life. Like over here in my life, I have to do lots of things and deal with things that they don't make any sense to me. There's no justice or sensibility to any of it, but I deal with it anyway. All right, now what's the problem here? Okay, so we've got the Eight of Pentacles. So the challenge is, I think, to me it feels like rectifying and justifying and understanding the larger picture when it comes to personal finances. In other words, wow, I really, really have worked very, very hard in my life to be who I am, where I am. I've invested and I have prospered accordingly. And then when it with just one tiny little incident that might threaten the stability and the good fortune of the new life ahead, it could make you feel like, oh my God, my whole world is at risk. Everything that I've worked for. Again, let's go back over here. I'm going to have to, you know what, I'm going to have to put several charts together like this. Give me a second, Tina, because what I'm sensing is that you're a little bit in the grip of the retrogrades, and you can't help it, just like the rest of us, okay? How does that feel to you? I'm going to put this map aside for now. So, with the Eight of Pentacles, by the way, I have to deal with the Eight of Pentacles a lot right now. This is personal for me. I'm paying very, very close attention to personal and global finances, okay? Whether I can do anything about it or not, I'm paying very close attention. So what I'm sensing here for you in your reading is that you personally are feeling the energy of the collective, okay? This would be the energy of the collective, where the whole subject of global finances is under deep pressure and heavy scrutiny, okay? Everybody right now should be really focusing on personal finances, and for getting a reference point, they need to become more and more knowledgeable about global finances and how they work, so that you are not a victim of the elites. So there you are. You've lived your life up to this point, and you have measurable wealth, measurable abundance, and a brand new life. And yet here we are. We just started the Mercury retrograde. Venus is still retrograde. Venus is going to change. Wait a minute. It's changing. Let me go over here. Okay, Necessary Truth mentioned the 27th. In about a week, Venus in Capricorn is going to go direct again. Venus is one of the money planets. So with Mercury retrograde, which is one of the money planets when it comes to day-to-day commerce and transactions and trading and intercommunications with finance, at the same time, we're in this period right here. Basically, Tina, what I'm trying to do is explain away your pain and suffering right now regarding the journey and the finances and feeling screwed over by that company. Maybe the fee was fair, but maybe you can't measure the cost to yourself about having to do all the repair work and the assembly work because they let you down. A lot of that has to do with values and money and values. But it's going to change. Okay? Again, money and values. Uranus just recently flipped direct. So there's a huge amount of calibration because Uranus moves very slowly compared to Venus and Mercury. And so everything that just came into your conversation here about the knee and about the contractors, movers letting you down, you know, I love to blame the planets. Bop, bop, bop. Bop, bop, bop. Okay? And you've only been in your new place for a few weeks, as far as I can tell. But you're going to get over this, okay? When we move into February, things are going to change and accelerate. All major planets direct, okay? So my feeling is that you're going to leave a lot of this current pain and suffering and annoyance and frustration behind you. And you won't have time to dwell on problems that can't be fixed. Instead, you'll just take it all in your stride. But for the time being, if you're feeling like, wow, yeah, my finances really did not get honored or respected, my values did not get honored or respected, that would make sense, okay? But there's relief coming. Okay, how are we going to deal with this? Okay, I'm thinking now into February, okay? So this looks very bumpy and uncomfortable and miserable for you, and this matches very parallel with your notes. Okay? But oh no, Cappy Moon is second house. Tina Miller. Unethical business by moving company. 6,800 bid, end up being 12,000. Oh God, it sounds like a bait and switch. Nasty. And then you had to do that $14,000 new roof on the Houston people, right? Yeah. So yeah, you have every right to feel like you got burned, totally burned. Let's have a look. Moving forward, how do we deal with this? Okay, so the theme here is very much to do with money, financial health, physical health, because your financial health has a very clear impact on your physical health. If people feel like they've been financially fucked over, screwed over, or confused or lost, or they made a big, huge mistake, it sends tremendous fear pressure to the very bottom of your base chakra. And, you know, those chakras and yoga stuff, basically the lower spine. And if you let that take a grip on you, it'll just get worse. So we have to move on and go forward. It looks like you've been in the new house for a week. Keep going forward. Okay. So, with the Death card here, my feeling is this is a very scorpionic energy here. And I'm going to use a storyline that I've used many times. Okay? Regarding this card, okay, Tina? With the Death card there, the energy of 13, it's very scorpionic. And the scorpionic way of dealing with your situation would be like this inversion type energy where you know that you willingly, deliberately chose a new life, a new world, new location, and you knew that it would be very stressful. You've got that huge Capricorn thing going on, and there's so much pressure there. It's unbelievable. There's all the astrology stuff that we've talked about. But the way forward is to like embrace the Scorpio element, where it's literally like die before you die. It's like the Darth Vader stuff. Again, don't quote me. I know very little about Star Wars because I saw it so long ago and I never did the follow-ups. But it's a very important part of the storyline, whatever the storyline was. And it's the only thing I can remember is where Darth Vader, like the dark hero, realizes the best way forward is to die before you die. In other words, you can't kill me. You can't take me out because watch this. I'm already gone. And it's deliberate. And so the Scorpionic way forward is to understand from a super ultra high perspective, which is where we are right now, by the way, that the way forward is to understand that, wow, this is all part of my life. It's a Scorpionic theme here where, like, honestly, for Scorpios in general, this is something that I've noticed. Nobody reincarnates with huge Scorpio energy unless they know that they're going to go through big, sometimes painful, ugly transformations in life. But that's how they survive. Scorpios, Scorpionic energy can be very like the ultimate survivor energy because you can't kill them. And so the way forward is to understand and embrace the whole thing. It's almost like you allow yourself to be crushed by the little details. If you take it all too personally, then you would be completely overwhelmed. So what the Scorpionic energy does is basically say, instead of that, you know what? Fucking bring it on. It's like buffalo that live up in the Dakotas in Montana, North Dakota. Buffaloes are incredibly noble, beautiful, loving, caring creatures. And when really, really bad stuff happens to them, especially with the weather, especially in winter, what they do is they huddle down and they realize we have no choice. And they've done it before, over and over again. Scorpio energy is all about survival against all odds, okay? So what the buffalo do is when really, really bad stuff starts to happen, like a big freeze or an Arctic blast or a heavy Arctic storm, what happens is, instead of trying to run away from it, they face forward into the storm and they move and they walk. They force themselves to move and walk very slowly into the storm. It's almost like the same message with Darth Vader. You cannot take me down. You will not take me down. In fact, I am going to walk face first into you. And I will come out the other side stronger, bigger, bolder, richer, more evolved, and powerful than ever before. The first peoples of the United States based a lot of their world around the buffalo. A lot of, when buffalo roamed free and all that, okay? Yeah, okay, Tina, luckily, you are your own doctor right now. Like, I can see it in your notes there. I'm exactly where I need to be. So, yeah, you can say this is all happening according to destiny or synchronicity. But my feeling is that the next 2.5 years are going to be profoundly transformational, okay? Again, the death card is very much about deep, profound transformation. And that's going to happen at a very obvious external level, but also at a very, very deep internal level for you personally. Okay, Tina? And that's the way forward. It's literally kind of like walk into it, like bring it on. You know there are challenges coming your way. You might not know the nature of the challenges, the quality. You don't know what they are, but you know that they're coming your way, and it's all part of your growth and your new abundance going forward. And so you embrace it. You ask for it to come to you. You ask for the change, the transformation to come to you, and you walk into it face first. Okay? Frittily just showed up. And Tina's giving Frittily a spanking. That's all right. It's understandable. I get it. Tina, I hope this helps. You're obviously under a lot of stress. Okay. Things are going to change in a few weeks astrologically. Okay. So right now, it would be really good to kind of embrace the pain, which would be a scorpionic theme. Suck it up. And turn the garbage into gold. The Scorpio theme, the transformational energy, die before you die. It's about turning all the fear and chaos and energy, turning that into gold. That's transformation. That's the energy of alchemy. Think of it, that's a good word. Just remind yourself going forward that deep, deep, deep down, you are an alchemist. You've survived so much, and it just makes you stronger here. Yeah, as we grow older, maybe we get more fragile in our physical body. But in here, you are more powerful than ever, and you will continue to grow in that direction. Okay, thank you. That's your reading. Well, that was juicy. I would say that was really juicy. All right, here we go. Karen, you're up next. Karen over there in New Zealand. I heard from my friends that it was very soggy and rainy in the North Island today, way up north in the Waikato and that area. All right. Cheers, Karen. Here we go. Maybe Frittily will come back as Janet Webster. That's nice and neutral. We can all live with that. It's perfectly fine. It's about ego death, my dear. Some of you know Frittily very well from over the years. Frittily happens to be one of those people who she can't help herself. She has one of those Mensa minds. She happens to be like intelligent, almost to the verge of hyper intelligent, to the point where it actually becomes a problem. What happens when you know too much and you understand too much? And that's all relative, of course, comparing your, when you measure that against your immediate surroundings, like your friends and family and your local people. Okay. Yay, general, please. Thank you, Karen. I love to do general wide open readings. It gives me a chance to like spread my wings and strut my stuff. Okay. It's so true, isn't it, Frittily? Haha, Scorpios and pain. Yeah, it's kind of like an equation. They go together. It's one of the weird things about Scorpios. They seem to be, I'm not saying necessarily a Scorpio sun, but maybe a Scorpio moon, a Scorpio rising, or somebody with a huge Scorpio stellium or something. For some reason, they attract a lot of pain. They live through pain and they endure pain, but they grow. It's almost like they grow through pain. For Italy, those are some very profound words you're punching into the screen tonight. Oh, Tina, really? This move put Scorpio on my ascendant. Interesting. Huh. Oh my gosh. It's going to be exciting how the story unfolds over the next few years. All right, Karen, I think we're pretty good here. I think cards are in pretty good condition. Okay. All right, what kind of messages do we have here tonight regarding Karen and her life in her world? I'm using the Tarot Lumination Situational Spread, which is essentially a diagnostic tool. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it, and here's the external influences. Of course, I always refer to the planets, but you never know. Talking about diagnostic tools, okay, Karen? I just want to mention something. I just learned something in the last few weeks here in Las Vegas, Nevada, United States. The check engine light was going on and off in the car for a couple of weeks. You know that little light? It's usually an orange light and it goes beep. Please service your engine soon. And that usually terrifies a lot of people. They think, oh my God, my car is going to blow up. Okay? But it's just an indicator. Please service your engine soon. And so what tends to happen is that you get into a panic and you think, oh my God, more money, more bills. It's going to be a transmission or a car, a fuel injector or a catalytic converter. Oh my God, hundreds, thousands of dollars. Okay. And so I went into a panic. I studied as much as I could about check engine lights. And then I discovered something amazing. Over here in the United States, okay, Karen, we have a place called AutoZone. There's a lot of franchise things with automobile care. But one of them is called AutoZone. And do you realize that over here, I can drive up the street a couple of miles, a few kilometers, and if my check engine light is on, I can say, hey, can you check my engine light? And they will bring out a diagnostic tool, which is a box. It's a small box. How big is it? It's about the size of a box of candy or something. And these tools are like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $7,000. But what they do is they plug it in, like to the diagnostic port, okay? And then they press the machine. It's an electronic device. It looks like a huge, thick, super thick tablet. Imagine like 4 tablets all stacked up. It's kind of like that. And it does a diagnostic on your car. And it tells you exactly what's wrong, where it's wrong, and why it's wrong, and how it's wrong. And then, guess what? You see the analogy with what we're doing here? You've got to reveal it to heal it. So once you can identify the problem, then finally you have a chance to heal it. Now, I didn't have to do it because I think I already figured out the problem after studying more YouTube videos. The check engine light was coming on because I was not turning on the gasoline cap for the petrol tank properly. And so there was not a proper seal, and that will affect the emissions, which will affect the emissions computer, blah, 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 blah. So guess what I did? I went to the AutoZone and I confirmed. I said, do you really do a free diagnostic check on cars for the check engine light? And they said, yes. So I said, is it possible that the check engine light could come on because I'm not turning my gas cap properly? And they said, yes. And then I said, I think I figured it out. And he said, you know what, just let me ask you, is your check engine light on right now? Are the orange words, service engine soon? And I said, no. And he said, well, I can't help you anyway, because the diagnostics won't find anything unless the check engine light is on. And so I think I did a self-diagnosis, okay? So anyway, I just wanted to go on about diagnostic tools. The Terra Lumination situational spread is exactly the same thing in the Terra world as it is for automobiles through AutoZone with their diagnostic gadget, which is about, $7,000 worth of technology. There you go. You know what I'm thinking of doing? I'm going to charge $7,000 now for every live mini reading. That's the new deal. Yay! And then I can pay for things, okay? Okay, I'm just kidding. All right. Don't worry. All right, anyway, let's do your reading. I just wanted to point out something about the check engine light and how you have to use a diagnostic tool to figure out what's going on. I used to be able to do it all by hand when I was a kid because I liked cars and engines and stuff. But today, with all the electronics in cars, you have to have a diagnostic tool. You cannot figure out what's wrong with your car unless you have a diagnostics. All right, I'm switching to my little red wine here. Cheers, everybody. Hi, Karen. Okay, let's have a look. So, wow, we have the lovers here. So, I don't know, Karen, if you're in a very deep vortex of energy with a particular person, perhaps a mate or a loved one or a spouse or something like that, where you might be questioning what's going on. You might be questioning things, or you might be, in other words, you might be questioning things as you observe your life and your world and all the most important relationships in your life and your world, like kids, spouses, closest friends and family and business partners and things like that. That's you looking out. But there also might be the same pressure coming at you where you might be under pressure from other people regarding relationship dynamics. Hold on, I just saw that, huh? The light goes on in my car and it beeps because I forget to top up the oil and it freaks me out and I panic. Oh no! Well, hey Karen, I got another auto tech story for you. I'll be very quick. Hold on. So, I try to do what I can to keep the car working as best as possible. And the car is at a point right now where it leaks oil regularly and consistently. Not too much, not too little. It's enough to worry about it, but not enough to worry about it. So what do? In theory, the car people tell you, you got to change your oil every 5,000 kilometers or every 10,000 kilometers. Yeah, but what kind of car, how old it is, or whatever. But with this car, the beauty of it is that The oil leaks just enough so that it's not worth going into an oil change, a lubrication service center. Instead, what you do is every week you go out, you pop the hood on the car, you look at the engine, you find the oil cap, and you take a little bottle of oil, whether it, I don't know, half a liter or something, I don't know what it is, and you just throw that in there, and you don't think about it too much. It's just little tips. So in other words, you're putting in brand new fresh oil roughly at the same rate that the older oil is leaking out. Anyway, Frittily, again, same story for you. You might not have to get your... If you've got a vehicle that does not drip oil consistently, then you might have to get your oil changed. But if you've got a vehicle, an older vehicle, and it drips oil, you might as well just keep pouring new oil in every week or two and just keep it topped up, because then you'll always have fresh oil. Anyway, let's see. Okay, Karen, back to New Zealand. Here we go. Jeffrey showed up. Hi, Jeffrey. So, okay. I'm going to just dive over to the chart for a moment, my astrodoodle. With the lovers here, you might be in a situation... Okay. We're talking about relationship dynamics, and some people, think of it as to do with very important decisions. But with the lovers, in terms of relationship dynamics, I would look for oppositions in the chart. Okay? The moon is in Libra. Libra being the sign of love and relationships. Moon can indicate, perhaps the deep fear of what is not working in love and relationship. And guess what? It is opposed directly by Chiron and Aries. Chiron and Aries has the energy of the deeply, I would say, wounded self. It's a long transit. It's been here for a long time. And where every one of us on planet Earth right now is the way we're dealing with Chiron and Aries is we're starting to look at ourselves in context more and more accurately, and how that relates to significant others. So in other words, with the Lover's card here, my feeling is that you might be in a situation, Karen, where you are becoming more and more acutely aware of yourself and your selfhood, and everything that is good and what it works for you and what is yours by right, simply out of dignity and self-respect. And then once you discover that, you realize and sense oh my God, there's an awful lot of stuff that's not appropriate. And that would be reflected in relationships. And so you might be in a situation where there's a kind of a flare-up in relationships right now. And it does not have to be an open flare-up. I'm not saying you might be in a situation where you are in extreme conflict with a very significant other person, a spouse, a partner, a child, a business partner. But inside of you, you might be simmering very, very deeply about the things that are definitely not right, not just, not respectful of you and yourself. Also, this opposition here is in a hard square with Venus in Capricorn. Venus, the planet of love and relationships. And when it's in Capricorn, love and relationships include the measurable quantities, the measurable quantifier of what we would call value or money. Okay, I've dealt with Venus and Capricorn type relationships where it's very, very clear that the relationship dynamics have to work in the context of value and money. In other words, what are you bringing to the relationship, my dear, lovely, loved one? And then the other one would say to you, okay, well, thanks for asking, because I was going to ask you, what are you bringing to the relationship, my dear and lovely loved one? Show me your wallet. Okay, well, I'll show me your wallet if you show me your wallet. Okay? And that's typically a very, very difficult and tricky dynamic to deal with. I know the Lover's card has nothing to do with money, but when I see this opposition here, hard squared with Venus retrograde in Capricorn, yeah. What's the situation itself? Oh, hey, wait a minute. Karen's birthday, 18th of February. Oh, okay. So you're only days away. You'll be 52, leaving area 51. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, so we'll come back to this. So, 18th of February, that's a very late Aquarian. Let me just check. I'm going to look at a certain calendar here. When does the Sun enter Pisces? Okay, well, this particular year, 2022, the Sun enters Pisces on the 18th of February. So, Karen, you must have been born very close to the cusp of Aquarius and Pisces. So you probably carry a little bit of both energies with you. The Aquarius energy, actually, you know what, Karen? If you know anything about your astrology and your horoscope, could you type it in on the screen? Are you actually a very, very late degree Aquarius, like 29 degree Aquarius? Or are you a very early Pisces, like 0 to 1 degree Pisces? If so, if you have any knowledge, please type it in. It'll help me a lot here. Meanwhile, let's keep going. All right, let's have a look. Okay. All right, so we got the Eight of Swords here. To me, this feels like it's temporary energy. To me, it feels like when I'm looking at this, the Lover's card here, to me it feels like there's a big question mark. Am I blessed or am I not blessed? Am I loving or am I not loving? Am I loved or am I not loved? Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Love and relationships. In other words, given what I'm sensing right now, what am I supposed to do about that? How am I supposed to feel? What am I feeling? It's very, very important to acknowledge what you're feeling and especially be able to put it in words. However, here, when I see the Eight of Swords here, my feeling is that this is like a lot of static, and especially because Mercury just flipped in retrograde and it's going to be here for a little while longer and into early February. But Venus is going to be going direct soon. Uranus is already direct. So my feeling here with the Lover's card here is that there's a lot of stuff going on in your world regarding relationships, close relationships, business, and community. Okay, hold on, let me see your notes. People have been pointing fingers at me for years, and now they want me to help them on their community projects because of my contacts. Oh, yeah. Wow. God. Talk about, I don't know, two-faced people. Karen Clark is also saying, 29 degrees, something Aquarius. Okay, so with the 29 degree mark, we're dealing with what they call the critical degree, the anaretic degree. That's where everything kind of comes to a head of like, I gotta get this stuff sorted out. Like astrologically before we flip into the 0-1 degree of the new sign. So with the Aquarian 29 degree mark, it could be a tremendous challenge for you to have to act and behave and carry the Aquarian energy to the most extreme levels possible to be tested whether you really are certified and qualified to be an Aquarius. Okay? Because the Aquarius theme would be all about selflessness and devotion to the community and what is new and amazing that's coming up for us in life and going forward. And you kind of do embody that, especially in your local community. You are a trailblazer. You are a bit of a rebel. And there's always a little bit of friction and drama surrounding you in the community, in the business, in the family. And so at the 29 degrees Sun in Aquarius mark, yeah. Now, in this reading itself, with the Eight of Swords, you might be in a feeling, in a position where what am I supposed to do? How am I going to deal with this? Well, you have a right to be frazzled. If you feel that your nerves are frazzled, or your whole life, your whole world, your whole sense of sovereign self is being challenged right now, guess what? You can blame it on the planets, just like I do. Look here. You've got Saturn, Sun, and Mercury all here in Aquarius. Mercury just entered Aquarius at the very small degrees. Let me show you. Sorry, where's January? Look at this. Look at this. I don't know if you probably can't see it on your screen or even on my camera here. But look at this. Mercury is at 29. Sorry, excuse me. That's bullshit. I looked at the wrong chart here. Mercury's in Aquarius right now. It's slowed down and now it is retrograde. And it's about 5 degrees. And then it's going to keep retrograding into Capricorn. All right. And then it's going to go direct in Capricorn. And then in the middle of February, it's going to get back into Aquarius. So what I'm sensing here for you is that it's actually really good that you got this reading here tonight. Okay, Karen? This Mercury retrograde in Aquarius right now, it's going to be impacting you for another 3 or 4 weeks, okay? Where it could make it very awkward or difficult or confusing for you to sort out the dynamics in your closest relationships. What's actually going on. In other words, please do not expect any resolution or answers to your problems at this moment in time. In other words, you're better off right now just living through the experience and the frustration. Okay, it says here, so you're not. People have been pointing fingers at you for years. Now they want you to help them on their community projects because of your contacts. Okay, right. So, yeah. It puts you in a bit of a bind. Well, okay, if I want to be an honorable Aquarian and be there for the community and the people to the point where I'm not actually doing it for my own personal gain or benefit. I'm just doing it for the sake of community. That could feel potentially very confusing for you, especially at the level of the ego, because it would be nice every now and again to be respected and honored and appreciated by the community for being who you are, the way you are, why you are in the community already. Sadly, it feels to me that, oh God, I don't want to boost your ego here, Karen, but you may be surrounded by people and a community that do not operate on your frequencies, and you end up in a situation where you constantly have to dumb yourself down to deal with the, let's say, immaturity of your community and their inability to understand you at the fullest extent. So every day, every hour, every week, every month, recently, and perhaps for the next few weeks, you might be really questioning yourself, like, why the fuck do I bother? What's the point? You know? Each time I do something useful or valuable that could really, really help, things backfire or ended up unappreciated, or someone takes it personally as though you are trying to walk over them or prove something to them. And it's not like that at all. But no insult to the local community, Karen, but if they are not as evolved as you, they may not be able to understand the pain and suffering that you have to deal with in order to accommodate them. Right? God. All right, what's the challenges here? God. So I got the Ace of Swords here. It's just like, to me it feels like the real problem here is like, how on earth am I supposed to stand in my truth, my wisdom, my knowledge? How am I supposed to stand, number one, in subjective truth, on the understanding that I am actually a pretty evolved being, and I am acutely aware of what's going on here. But at the next level, we're talking about universal truth. How on earth am I supposed to continue in my role, in my local community, to be like a firebrand or a figurehead or an instrument of knowledge, wisdom, and truth that's good for everybody when I have to deal with this bullshit? How's that possible? Okay? Sorry, with all these swords here, I gotta do something. Give me a second. So Karen, it's almost like, you know, before going to battle, you know, let's say you're in the Situation Room at the White House, and there's a lot of conflict and internal conflict going on, like, oh, we have this problem. We have this situation. We have a situation. It needs to be dealt with. And you know what happens in a Situation Room? Everybody who's involved in the Situation Room, in other words, that would be you, plus you, plus you, plus you, plus you, which is all the different astrological variations of yourself, and you realize, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? How on earth am I supposed to deal with blah blah and all their petty blah blah issues? How am I supposed to deal with them and all their stupid petty backlash issues? How am I, what about so and so? They were backstabbing me weeks ago, and now they're crawling towards me. Like, please, you know, what the fuck am I supposed to do? You know? I'm already dumbing myself down to accommodate people. Imagine like you're a fighter and like you're a warrior and you like doing things properly. I want a good fight. If I'm going to fight, I want a good fight. Give me an enemy. Something. And then you end up having to deal with this BS. Bullshit. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Truth? What does that mean to people who don't understand truth? Integrity? What does that mean to people who don't understand integrity? Honesty? What does that mean to people who don't understand honesty? Universal laws? What does that mean to people who don't understand universal laws? And you sit there like, huh! Anyway. So it means like, oh my God, extremely frustrating energy. And then you end up reverting, okay. I'm not saying this is the answer. I haven't pulled this card yet. Like, okay, everybody, I will help you on your own projects because I have these contacts and I understand what's going on. And then you have to suck it up and swallow all this bullshit. Okay, how are we going to deal with this? So we have the Judgment card here. It's a very screaming, loud message to liberate yourself and reclaim your freedom and your rights to be who you are. However, in the context of this reading, my feeling is that given these two cards here and how challenging this is for you and how, like, it's almost like, to me it feels almost like it's really pathetic. Just truly pathetic, the shit that you're having to deal with. And it's really petty. And so I come to this conclusion with the Judgment card. You're not going to like this, Karen. Seriously, you're really not going to like this, the way I'm interpreting this, the way I'm feeling it. The obvious response would be totally uck you. Liberate yourself. Completely detach yourself from all this nonsense in the community and stuff. But the reality is, my deeper sense is that it's almost like you embrace the community. It's almost like having this, like, oh God, I don't want to insult people, but this is what I'm feeling, Karen. It's like you're stuck in this position where, like, oh my God, the only way forward is that as a part of the community, dealing with community members who are literally infantile, what am I supposed to do? And then you kind of have a choice like, you know what? I'm just going to walk away. You guys can all wallow in your misery. But there's this weird thing that I personally go through, okay, Karen, where I do this a lot for myself, where I do things I don't want to do. I behave in ways I don't want to behave. I make decisions and activate energy and actions that in my ego I don't really want to do. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. And then I flip that around completely. It's almost like I'm going completely against myself. But what's very uncanny and very, very strange is that when I take a few breaths and I do the things I don't want to know, be the person I don't want to be, adapt in ways that I don't want to adapt, I actually end up liberating myself. I don't have a full explanation right now here on this show tonight, but the way I see the card here with the Judgment, it's about liberation. It's about liberating yourself from all the pettiness. It's almost like all these people that are actually like a real problem for you. It's really confusing. It's almost like you get to a point where it's like, okay, you just put on the screen here. Let me look at here. Exactly. Backstabbing. It's awful. I can't stand it. You got a meeting in 2 hours to discuss a new artist co-op. Oh my God. So, with the Judgment card here, it always feels to me like the first impression would be like, oh my God, you know what? Here we all are gathered here in this meeting, and I'm going to tell every one of you, face to your face, my face to your face, you can all go fuck yourselves. Get the fuck out of here. But that doesn't really, I don't know if that's helped much, because that's just going to breed animosity. So you end up in this very weird, confusing, disorienting situation. You with a 29-degree Aquarius sun, and then Saturn in Aquarius, where you are being seriously tested. Mercury in Aquarius retrograde, where you're being tested. And the sun in Aquarius, shining a bright light on the whole Aquarian theme about community and sharing. And so to me it feels like we're flipping it all around, where it's like this I'm just going to do some acting. Okay, remember, Karen, I spent 20 years in Hollywood. I know it doesn't show, but I actually did some acting. And I'd like to say I was pretty damn good. Of course, no one knows. I never got any awards or anything. And no one can hardly see me. But anyway, that's another story. In your situation, it's almost like having to swallow pride, having to swallow your true perceptions about what's actually happening here, and then put on a big smiley face and go into this meeting. I'm actually talking about the meeting right now, where you have to deal with the reality of the meeting. Like, okay, hello everybody. Hello. Okay, how are we going to deal with this new artist co-op? Do you people have any idea how hard it is for me to deal with you people? And then you come to me to host a meeting about a new artist co-op? Okay, you could go and do that if you wanted to. But with the Saturn energy, it makes me feel like you're being tested, where, like, oh God, I'm going to have to dumb myself down. I'm going to have to deal with this for the sake of community. Hello, everybody. Hi. I'm so glad we could all be together here today. So the topic of conversation is about the new artist co-op. Hello. I'd like to ask, what does that look like to you? What does that look like to you? Okay. Take notes. Okay, what does that look like to you? Very interesting. Okay, so what are the actual chances of making any of this happen? Okay. And so what I'm sensing here, the way forward is the way to liberate yourself from all the pain and suffering of having to deal with all this extreme hyper pettiness, is to embrace it like a little crippled puppy dog, or a little abandoned kitten, or something really sad and sweet and pathetic that doesn't know how to be any better than what it is. And then you have to kind of go like, oh my God. Okay. The ego dissolves, and then you embrace the situation, and it's almost like, okay, since it seems to me that I'm inadvertently in a position where I'm hosting this whole thing about a new artist co-op, I'm going to do the best I can in terms of the energy of the co-op, which is the community. It's all about us. It's not all about me. It's about us. Okay? What was that? Harold Dickinson. That's what Duncan said. Tell them to get fucked. Okay, so that's the easy way out of the situation. But if you're actually in a meeting and you're coming up to a meeting in a few hours, and there's a part of you which actually wants to be, this person. Oh God, I've just read your new line. It's actually potentially competition to my business, which they want me to help set up. In other words, they're asking you to set up themselves in such a way that they can compete with you. I understand. Okay. I understand the Eight of Swords. I understand your righteous anger. But my feeling is that we're probably dealing with a whole bunch of unknowns here. So it's almost like you have to go into the meeting and live through it and allow them to be themselves. And then perhaps in a few weeks from now, after you've digested the implications of this meeting, then you allow yourself to do whatever you have to do. If it really is a total like, you know what, then that's what you do after consideration. It's almost like the worst thing you can do now is make definitive decisions and complete yes or no responses. It's almost better with the Mercury retrograde, the Venus retrograde, the Saturn in Aquarius, Mercury in Aquarius, Sun in Aquarius. It's better like to just live through this, the discomfort, take notes, ask for information like, how do you see this? How do you see this working for you? How do you see this working for us? Have you considered that what you're asking me to do is create a competitor to myself? I'm just saying, ask them to think about that. Put them on the spot. Challenge them to grow and evolve a little bit themselves, but do it in a very egoless, completely egoless way. No pointing, no judgment, no nothing. Just pointing it out as an intellectual exercise. Take the notes, live through the experience, and then see what happens. Give yourself plenty of time to digest, but don't do anything definitive right now. Okay? All right, so I hope that helps you, Karen. I honestly, I really enjoyed this reading. I feel like we kind of really got into some very difficult, awkward things here. I don't know how much it's going to help you. I'm hoping that at least we brought some clarity or the chance to deal with your situation better than you could have dealt without this reading. Okay? I hope that makes sense. All right, let's keep going. Lorraine, you're up next. Here we go. Oh, look who just showed up. Janet Webster. Harald Dickinson. Harald Dickinson. Von Rent. I don't know what that means. Sorry, Harald. All right, Lorraine up there in Chile, Ohio. Chile, Ohio, North America. Chile, I said Chile, people, because I talk to people all over the world, they might have thought that I was talking about Chile. But no, we're talking about Chile, Ohio. There's Ohio. You see? There's Ohio. It's very cold and snowy and dark there right now. Right there. Thank you, Karen. Thank you very, very much. So here we are. We're doing a reading now for Lorraine Tomasic. She's over here in Youngstown, Ohio, which is up in the north section of Ohio near the Great Lake Erie. So it's very cold and dark. right now. And she just got her new battery, as I understand it. Cheers. Actually, I just did a bunch of shuffling, but we're going to keep going to the last second, okay? All right, Lorraine, thanks for showing up, and we're going to do this, all right? It's 18 degrees over there in, is it New Jersey? Little north tip of New Jersey. Is that right, Janet? All right, here we go. All right, Lorraine, let's just do this. Cards are well shuffled, nice and clear. I'm doing the good old Tarot Lumination diagnostic spread. AAA put it in. Yes, honestly, AAA is wonderful. They really are. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle it. Oh, by the way, I never asked you, if you've got a very particular issue in one word, type it on the screen. Otherwise, we're just going to move ahead and we're going to give you a reading. Actually, I'm going to wait for a few moments. If you don't mind, Lorraine, I am going to the wine cellar and I'm going to dig up a bottle and I'm going to top up my glass here. So if you could stay there for just a moment, I will be right back. And I might have to go and to the restroom at the same time. So I'm just going to factor that in here. And so please bear with me. All right. Please chat amongst yourselves. I'll be back in a minute. All right, here we go. All right, so Lorraine up there in Chile, Ohio. Not Chile, South America, but Chile, Ohio. Okay. Oh. Lorraine's digging up the Crown Royal. Excellent. For those of you who don't know, I'm not an expert with those beverages. Okay, look at the notes here. I just got some interesting stuff on the screen. Janet Webster's on Northwestern Pennsylvania 45 Interstate. Northwestern Pennsylvania, 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh. Oh, okay. Okay, let's just do that. Okay, so as you can see, folks, I don't know if you can see, but this is Pittsburgh. Come on, there we are. So Janet is just up here at the tip of my pen. All right? So picture that, people. That's where Janet is right now, and it's freaking cold. Okay? And Lorraine is up here. Lorraine is up here. Oh, come on, little pen. Come on, we can do this. Come on. Yeah, okay, look at that. So Lorraine is over there close to Akron and Cleveland, all right? It's in Youngstown, Ohio. Again, very cold and snowy. All right, Crown Royal is, as far as I know, it is a brand of a certain whiskey type of beverage. Meanwhile, we have good old Trader Joe's $3 Chuck. Excuse me, $3.50 Chuck. All right, let's make some room. All right, Lorraine, let's have a look. Let's see. So the subject is life. Okay, perfect. What a great topic. Couldn't have asked for something better. All right, let's just get centered here a little bit. All right, we're going to use this, refer to this card here as external influences, okay? Okay. So, we've got the Seven of Swords. Yeah, this is kind of funny to me, honestly. Maybe it's not funny to you or other readers or other observers, but sometimes when I see the Seven of Swords, I think of black ice. Okay? Now, Lorraine, you just happen to live in a part of the United States where it's possible to get black ice. For those who don't know what black ice is, it's basically ice that forms on the surface of the roads in wintertime, but you can't see it. And so you're just driving along in the snow and the cold weather, and maybe it's really dark and windy and snowy. And then you're just tooling along, and you're driving your car. I'm on the highway. Okay, I'm going to pass this person. Signal left, signal right. And then you start to feel your car going like, oh, wait a minute. Whoa. Okay. It's black ice. Your car has no traction. The four wheels have nothing to do with your reality anymore. Your car is just going based on gravity because you have zero traction, okay? Anyway, there's a little analogy here. So with the analogy of black ice, let's bring it back into your life personally here. To me, this is like I'm not saying it's a red alert, like 911, 911, 911 emergency energy. To me, it feels more like an amber alert. Like it's very important for you, Lorraine, right now to look at your whole life, look at your whole world, where there is potential risk from anywhere, about anything, for any reason, at any time. Now, this is just a short-term phase, and I think it's very much to do with the retrogrades right now and the shift in retrogrades. Sorry, excuse me. Let me pull out the book. Actually, no. Let me use the chart again. Give me a second, Lorraine. Okay. Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde together. Those are very personal planets, so it would be very easy to feel like destabilized in our personal lives. Perhaps in very vivid or very soft or subtle ways where it's very hard to like get any traction or any stability, okay? Mercury retrograde, communications. Venus retrograde, relationships, okay? Communication and relationships. Relationships require healthy, open, clear communications. So whether it's just you with you, Lorraine, or you with the rest of the world, or the rest of the world with you, it's very important to understand that you could be in a situation or an environment of black ice where it could be extremely easy for you personally, to say the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person for the wrong reason in the wrong location. Just one tiny little thing. And the inverse is also true here, where it would be very, very easy for someone else who is not you, either very close to you or a complete stranger, where they say, or especially say, or communicate the wrong thing at the wrong time, at the wrong place, for the wrong reason, at the wrong location. Okay? And that could easily trigger, conflict breeds conflict. Confusion breeds confusion. So to me, this feels like it's a warning. It's almost like you're driving along in life in traffic, and somebody, like a guardian angel, like in this particular tarot reading, is very, very graciously and generously offering you a red amber warning light that you're entering a danger zone. Okay? Like I said just moments ago, something screwed up coming at you, or you ending up in a situation yourself. Very much about communications. So just be very, in other words, when that energy is flashing very loudly here, it's just like a take care, be warning. Okay, I'm going to go back over here. It's the only way I can do it. It's just like it's almost like the worst thing you could do is spontaneously express yourself in a moment of stress. Also, the worst thing that you could do is to spontaneously react in a moment of stress when stressful things are coming at you or to you. Because negative energy would compound into more negative energy. So, to me it feels like it's very important to be extremely alert right now, so that you don't end up a victim of real black ice, or spiritual, or psychological, or emotional, financial, health, relationship black ice. The problem with black ice is that when black ice incidents happen, it's almost like you have no preparation. You have no advance warning. Okay. So please take this reading as a warning that you're entering, or you're actually already in, a black ice environment for whatever that means to you. Friends, family, situations, communications, smartphones, Twitter, TikTok, internet, finances, whatever. It would be so easy to say the wrong thing in the wrong time, in the wrong place, for the wrong people, for the wrong reasons. And vice versa. It would be so easier for other people to dump that kind of doo-doo on you. But, in your case, Lorraine, forewarned is forearmed. So this reading is kind of like your alert warning, all right? Here we go. Let's actually do the reading itself. That was just the environmental influences, okay? Here we go. Oh, wow. Janet Webster has some serious stories about black ice. Black ice on a state where they don't have snowplows or salt trucks. It's super fun. I've traveled backwards 55 miles an hour in a snowstorm because the plows just... Oh my God. Okay, I hope everybody out there that you are reading the chat from Janet. Okay, what's the situation itself? Let's have a look. All right, Lorraine, let's have a look here. Okay, now, on its own, of course, the Ten of Cups is just beautiful. However, when it is colored by this kind of energy dynamic, to me it makes me feel as though it would be very, very natural for you to seriously question the stability and the security of your home environment right now in terms of what would look like happiness to you. Of course, this is a very luscious energy. Love, warmth, fertility, happiness, abundance at the heart center. So, at face value, let's just say it. Let's just say it. Please understand, dear Lorraine, that you have all this. So there's a certain aspect or quality of your life which is very valuable, and nobody can take that from you. It's like you own that in the heart and the center of yourself. However that happened, you did that, you created that. Maybe you conditioned yourself over the years. I am loving, I am loved. I am loving, I am loved. I am loving, I am loved. Wow, I am loving, I am loved. That's so cool. Wow. And it's an energy of abundance and understanding that love is infinite. And when you understand how the energy of love works, then it's kind of like by invitation. When you invite, when you ask for the healing power of love to fill your life from up above, guess what happens? It does. It's the question of being able to receive. And so I go back to this other little mantra that I have, which sounds like this. I'm just going to say it. I am worthy. I am deserving. I am open to receive. I am ready. I am willing. I am able to receive. ... Fill in the blanks. But for now, let's just say the healing power of love. Okay? So it feels to me here for you, Lorraine, that in one view of your life, you have all of this already. It's like you own this. You own and understand everything that I was just talking about here with your reading as your interpreter, as your reader, as an instrument of the healing power of love. And remember, I'm just an instrument here. I'm just a tarot reader. Okay, that's all. However, when I look at the Seven of Swords here in the background, to me it makes me feel like it's really important right now that in case you forgot, okay, Lorraine, in case you forgot that you have certain wealth and abundance at the very heart, soul level of your life and your world, it's important now today to remind yourself that you still have that to some degree. So even though you might be dealing with a ton of, let's say, stressful events, circumstances, situation, where the warmth and the coziness of the heart energy, the richness, the abundance of heart energy, where if you feel that this is in question, whether there's some kind of doubt, that's understandable, because you might feel that all of this is seriously in question right now. Like, okay, that's beautiful. Thanks, TL. Thanks for the 10 of Cups. That's wonderful. I know you didn't make that happen, but that's just part of the reading, and I appreciate your interpretations, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, I don't actually feel this. I feel more like I am, any minute now, I could spin out. I could have a complete roadkill black ice incident. Okay, so what's the problem here? Okay, so you might be feeling like in your own life, in your own world, you are being taken to the very limits of your ability to trust, to believe, and to have hope. Okay? Love Triber has a huge coffee cup, and it's all about the word hope. I don't remember the words exactly, but it's something like this. Hope, the definition. What is the definition of hope? Hope is the belief and the understanding that things are going to work out perfectly, even though you have no idea or understanding of when or why or how. That's hope. I don't know if I said that right, but it's something like that. So you might be feeling like, oh my God, wow, I know exactly what Tarot Illumination is talking about over here. That's really, really great. Yes, I am Lorraine Tomasic. I know I have that at my deepest core. On the other hand, at this moment in time, it feels like it's in deep jeopardy, because at any time, at any moment, someone or something could completely take me out and I could lose all that. So that's the energy of fear when you take that all together. And so with this energy here, this card here in the challenging position, that could take you to the brink of wondering like, wow, is there any hope for me at all? Okay, I do not see this as a huge, profound, tragic, painful reading, Lorraine. I just see this as a momentary, sporadic realization like, oh my God, it would be so easy for me, Lorraine, to disappear into a massive black hole of hopelessness and despair and loss, and the fear that I am no longer guided, I am no longer protected. There's nothing and there's no one there for me. There's no angels, there's no archangels, there's no invisible friends, there's no loved ones from the great beyond, there's no pets, there's nothing there for me to give me a sense of hope that everything can or will be or should be okay. Ouch. So, what do we do? How do we deal with that? Okay, so with the 7 of Cups here, my feeling is that's a ton of cups in this reading. Okay, so going forward here, the way to deal with your situation, to me it feels like prayer. It feels like this is a really good time to go deep into the Neptunian kind of energy of prayer, spirituality, dreamland, way beyond what you would normally do in your day-to-day life. To me, it feels like making deliberate efforts to either like explore meditation or look into like yoga or look into the worlds of healing through the human energy field, where you are like stepping way outside your three-dimensional reality of screwed up car batteries and so on and things like that, and instead taking this moment. The way to deal with any anxiety you might have about how life might not be working for you, about how it would be so easier for you to like completely skid off the journey and the road of life and end up as being a piece of roadkill. The way to handle that is to kind of do something that might not make any sense at all to some people. There's a Seven of Swords here, Seven of Cups here. I'm not a numerologist, but I'm sensing there is a profound link here. The way to deal with the sense of insecurities or instability is to embrace it and treat it as a kind of journey or a kind of an experience where it's almost like, I don't know, Lorraine, okay, sorry, this is going to be really weird as a reading. So, Lorraine, what I'm sensing here for you is that, again, I don't know much about Youngstown or the community or your personal life there in Youngstown, but what it feels to me like with the Seven of Cups here, the solution to the situation, whatever it is that's bothering you, is to either create your own personal mini, like, you know, like what some people do, go to YouTube channels and learn how to do these like meditations and do-it-yourself yoga stuff. The other thing would be to like explore your community, and even in conditions of black ice and cold and misery and the fear that like the world is going to end, you don't let that bug you. In fact, you use that as a catalyst. Like, oh my God, I'm so shit scared right now. I'm going to do something radical. I'm going to click online and look at my local community. Is there a local yoga center? Is there a local energy healing center? Is there a little tiny place where I can meet up with people of like mind at my level of spiritual advancement, where you can feel like you're one of them and they're one of you? And in so doing, you're tapping into this really powerful Neptune influence, which is all about, like, you know, dreams, spirituality, idealism about how great things could be or should be, and at the same time, how sickly and squalid and evil and toxic things really, really are. When I'm seeing the Seven of Cups here, it's almost like, okay, I just saw something from Janet there, but I've dealt with black ice many times in my life, and I've never had a tragic outcome. Yes, it's very frightening when you lose complete control, but this is what you do in black ice, okay? There's your Lorraine, you're just driving around, okay, you're driving along, and then you hit a patch of black ice. The worst thing that you can do is hold on tight to the steering wheel, believing and thinking that you can actually control the outcome. The second worst thing that you can do is slam on the brake pedal, thinking like, oh, I can stop this horrible experience from happening. Instead, what you actually do in black ice is you take your feet off the pedals, no brakes, no gas, nothing. You literally let go of the steering wheel, not completely, but you let the steering wheel float and move around. I know this sounds crazy, but that's the actual best way to deal with black ice. Because what happens is you just let the car go where it's going to go anyway. Because if you try to stop the car from going from where it's going to go, you can't do it. So instead, you let it happen. Okay, it's a very weird Neptunian kind of energy. You give up. You completely give up and you totally surrender to the black ice and you just kind of go. Now, here's the problem. Does that mean you're going to crash into another car? Are you going to roll over a cliff? Are you going to bump into a tree? Are you just going to simply like swirl down the road and then come to a stop? Who knows? But the thing is, psychologically, spiritually, and emotionally, when you let go of the steering wheel and you take your feet off the gas and the brakes, it's incredibly liberating, and it allows you to just surrender. Okay? Okay? All right, so let me go back. Lorraine, I was just sharing that in terms of how I learned how to deal with black ice. Okay, let's say you're heading towards a guardrail, poof, and you bam into it. Okay, you're not dead yet, okay? Okay, let's say there's a big pile of traffic. It's much better if you just kind of allow the vehicle to just bounce around and let it go where it goes. Because the chances are everyone else is dealing with a black ice incident as well. Most of them will have no idea how to handle it. But after this reading, Lorraine, you will know how to handle it. So going forward, the way to handle your situation is to treat it almost like a spiritual awakening, as a chance to get in touch with a new part of yourself which could not or would not have ever happened without the really scary, treacherous, terrifying conditions around you. Now, I'm not saying this is just with your physical life, like your thoughts or finances. I'm talking about everything in your life, in your world, that could possibly threaten your sense of comfort, home, stability, and happiness and warmth, okay? To the point where you're so terrified that you're losing hope about life and everything. So that's almost like what happens when you're dealing with black ice, because you can go from just driving along and then suddenly realize you have absolutely no power, no control, no say in what is happening. So what does that trigger? It triggers complete, utter terror and hopelessness. So how do you deal with that? You deal with it from a spiritual perspective. You surrender completely to the whole thing, and you allow the message to come to you. Okay, your car might get dinged. Okay. Oh, maybe someone else's car got dinged worse than yours, whatever. But with the Seven of Cups here, to me it feels like it's a chance to awaken. Like whatever's challenging you right now, it's actually a portal, a doorway for you to I don't know how to say it except thrive through adversity. There's no one single card here that says thrive through adversity, but when I put all this together, that's how it feels to me, okay? And in the end, it becomes a gift. You start to think like, oh my God, that was a complete mind fuck. Again, I don't know, Lorraine, if you've ever had to deal with black ice yourself. But seriously, when you go into a black ice situation, it can be so scary, so frightening, so disorienting when you discover you have absolutely no power. Nothing. And that's terrifying for a human being. And then you get to realize, like, wow, what? I'm totally fucked. I could just crash into that tree. Oh my God, that car is going to crash into me. Oh, I could crash into that car. Oh, I could fall over the edge into that barrier or whatever. There's nothing you can do. It's complete hopelessness. But it's also an incredible chance to experience I don't know, your connection with the beyond, your connection with the great beyond. The only way to deal with it is like embrace it, like, wow, this is absolutely beautiful. This is just like, okay. Sometimes when people go into black ice, it's just a big, it's like what you see on the news when you see those highways with 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 trucks and cars, and they're all piled up, but nobody dies. That's the kind of storyline I'm talking about here. So in your own world, the way to handle it is like, understand that you're kind of entering an environment, a vortex of black ice, but it's not the end of the world. It's just trippy, it's just disorienting, and in the end, absolutely nothing may happen. You just may end up stalled on the side, and you realize, like, wow, that was a total mind warp. This is actually the best way to experience it is treat it as a full-on black ice situation, and you totally spin out spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, financially, and then you realize, actually, I'm okay. I didn't die. Oh, maybe the car got dinged and I feel a bit strange, but wow, that was really trippy. But that's an amazing thing to learn and experience and understand, because then you can go forward in life understanding, like, if that happened once, it can happen again. Believe me, Lorraine, right now there are thousands or tens of thousands of people in the United States right now who are living through these exact scenarios, a black ice scenario. That's what you're dealing with. Okay? In an absolute tiny nutshell, that's what you're dealing with. It's very trippy, it's very scary, it's very disorienting, but 90% of the time, it's harmless. Okay? So you're going to be okay. Thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, everybody. I see your notes, Lorraine. Look at the notes there from Janet Webster. It's freaking awesome. Lorraine has to drive to work at 5 a.m. Oh my God. That's the coldest time of day. That's the most highest probability of black ice. Lorraine, okay. So Lorraine, after this reading tonight, we know you're going to be okay. If really crappy, shitty things happen, at least you are forewarned and forearmed, and you will be able to handle it. You know, obvious stuff like make sure you have a little bit of bottled water with you in the car. Make sure your smartphone is fully charged. I'm assuming you have a smartphone, a cell phone. Battery is fully charged. If you have to leave at 5 a.m., make sure to get up an extra half hour earlier to switch on the car with the new battery and let the engine warm up. Seriously, in those kind of temperatures, you need 5, 10, 15 minutes for the engine to warm up. It'll increase your chances of having a safe ride. There's no way out of it. It's very demanding to live in those kind of cold conditions. If you can get ahead of the problems, then please do so, okay? Like, if you don't take care of the battery, if you don't warm up the engine, if you don't clean up the other thing, Lorraine, of course, is like, I don't know if you have a garage or anything, like, it's so important to make sure that the windshield, the front and the back and the sides, and the mirrors, the driving mirrors, are all cleaned off and cleared off so that you have a pretty decent view of the road, okay? I'm serious, okay, Lorraine? Lorraine, I've spent a lot of time in very cold, snowy conditions, okay? It takes a huge amount of work. You have to get up really early. You have to go check the car really early. Got to switch it on, make sure it starts, get the engine up and running. You got to get the scraper on the windshield, clear off the side mirrors so you can see everything, turn the heater on. You're talking 10, 15, 20 minutes just burning gasoline, letting the engine run. So sometimes the way people do that is they jump out of bed first thing, throw on their warm clothes, do all that stuff, then they go back inside and then they have a breakfast. And then they're all warm and cozy and fueled up, and then you go out and get into the car and drive to work, okay? Okay, your car's in the garage. That's a tremendous advantage. Wow. Okay, awesome. Fantastic. Thank you, Lorraine. Wow. I really enjoyed doing this reading with you. Thank you so much. Take care. That's, you know what? I'm trying to think if I got anything else I want to add. Cheers, everybody. Thank you all for being here. It's been a pleasure. Time for us to move on. It is Sunday night for people in America. It's already Monday for Karen in New Zealand. I'm just going to duck out really, really quickly. And you can chat amongst yourselves as we depart. Hold on.